it really came on quite quickly, and they were like, "Yeah, if you can find a place to stay in Paris, we've got the job." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And yeah, the rest is history. Been the hardest, but also most rewarding thing I've ever done. I feel like it's definitely made me so much more resilient and a harder worker. Honestly, I've never worked so hard in my entire life, but I've never also felt so rewarded. Like afterwards, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do that again.
Coming up on the show today is none other than the admin of the at Paris 2024 TikTok account. I'm talking about, of course, Stella Barry, the 22-year-old from Melbourne, who was the social media producer over in Paris during the Olympic Games for the Paris Olympic Committee. Since she's got back, Stella has just joined Tennis Australia for the upcoming Australian Open, is going from strength to strength. Before she did all this, Stella's experience included roles at the IMG Academy over in the US, as well as Nebraska University, which is where she honed her social media expertise and developed video production skills, storytelling skills, and how to engage with athletes and produce content on the global stage. Now, if you're struggling to break into sport, Stella's journey offers you very valuable advice on networking, resilience, how to deal with rejection, and how to keep going until eventually you land your dream. I think you're going to enjoy it. Let's go.
I started volunteering.
It's all about who you know in sport.
Am I going to be calling the last 10 seconds of the grand final?
You can connect with the interviewer. The hand goes up when they've got to make a decision.
Having a network is one of the most important things you can do.
I didn't necessarily follow my passion. I followed my curiosity.
Once you've worked in sport, there's no going back.
And then lo and behold, before I left, I got offered two.
Hello and welcome to the Sports Grad Podcast, the ultimate guide to make it in the sports industry, brought to you by Deakin University, home to the world's #1 sports science school. My name is Ruben Williams. I'm an ex-Cricket Australia employee who started Sports Grad to help others get their own dream job, and now it's become my dream job. If we're not connected already, I'd love to chat with you over on LinkedIn or Instagram. You can find me there. And if this is your first time to the show, well, every week on the Sports Grad Podcast, I learn about someone's job in the sports industry. And the idea of that is to uncover how they got to their job and what does their job involve, so that if you are looking to find your place in the sports industry, you can understand what jobs are out there and make better decisions about what to do with your career and your life so that you can enjoy going to work every single day. That's the whole point of this. Now, if you are on your journey of trying to figure out your place in the sports industry, I would encourage you to do like many people have done who message me and just go back and binge a whole lot of episodes at once. And I'm not saying that out of self-interest to get you to listen to more. Well, maybe I'm a little bit, but I have had dozens of people message me saying like, hey, Ruben, I was able to find career direction very, very quickly just by listening to bulk episodes of this podcast. So if that's what you need help with at the moment, that is a little tactic I would recommend that you go and do. Now, today on the podcast is Stella Barry, and this interview with Stella was recorded right around the time when the Sports Grad community relaunched. And I wanted to get Stella in because Stella is just one of the most delightful humans you'll ever meet. And Stella and I connected when we were over in Paris. So I saw on LinkedIn before the games that Stella had got this amazing job to work as a content creator for the Paris Olympic Committee. And so I reached out to her in advance and we got connected when we were over there and just had like the most enjoyable hour or so having a coffee with Stella and learning about her career and how she got to where she is. And I still find it mind-blowing that she's still only 22 years old and achieved so much. But she's an amazing person and was very lucky to meet her over in Paris and was very grateful that she came and chatted with the Sports Grad community as well, because she had so many great insights and so many different relevant bits of information for young job hunters out there, because she's right at the coalface at the moment. She's got the most up-to-date experience. So this is a great chat if you are just starting to make your way in the sports industry, because Stella's approach to work and growing a career is absolutely excellent. Now, as always, a shout out to our Sports Grad community. We're a few weeks into relaunching the Sports Grad community, and it's been fantastic so far. Like, I've really enjoyed seeing new members kind of come in every single week and getting to meet new people on speed networking events and on industry intros and seeing where they are in the world and understanding the different career goals. So To everyone who has just joined the recent reopening of the community, welcome. I hope you're enjoying it. If you're not, please send me some feedback. We'd love to keep improving what we're doing all the time at SportsGrad. So it's just great to see the community kind of come to life through the relaunch of the membership options that are now available. Now, as always, I do love to give a special shout out to a few of our community members. And the first one goes to Dominic Zaya, who has recently just got a fan engagement role at the Collingwood Football Club. And we stumbled across Dom at the AFLW meetup recently. The AFL are very kind in handing us some tickets to take some community members along to the match. And when we walked through the front gate, there was Dom. Dom has been a SportsGrad Pro member for about a year now, and he was working at a cycling shop beforehand, and now he's working with the mighty Collingwood Football Club, along with fellow SportsGrad members Lewis Fitter and Cooper Irwin as well, and longtime friend of the show Bianca Litchfield as well. So Dom has walked into a magnificent workplace there. So well done to you, Dom. It was awesome to bump into you on game day in your element. Nick Maratos has landed a role with the A-Leagues. He's going to be doing some match leg stuff for the Australia Cup. And Mansar Jagnath has just landed a new job with Cricket New South Wales, which is absolutely phenomenal. So well done to those guys. Now, events. We've always got events coming up. If you're struggling to grow your network in sport, this is why we created SportsGrad, so you don't have to go through the whole, nasty process of reaching out to people on LinkedIn, not knowing what to say, trying to figure out how to get an in with somewhere. We bring them directly to you. So those people who joined last week will have created a new connection at Cricket Australia, because we brought in the executive general manager of people and culture, none other than Alison Robertson. She is literally in charge of hiring at Australia's second biggest sporting organisation, Cricket Australia. So well done to everybody who got along to that. But that is exactly what what SportsGrad's here to do: connect you to the sports industry and get you closer to jobs in sport a lot quicker. So if you missed that, don't worry. There's a recording available for members. But if you'd like to join more upcoming events, well, we've got one with Billy Lewis, who works in high performance, coming up soon. We've got another one with Jess Robinson, who is a journalist for Code Sports. And then we've got people on the horizon in the A-League, in football, in golf. There is just so much happening coming up. Adrian Cordy's coming in from the AFL as well. So if you're not a member and you want to be, make sure you jump to the website, get involved. You'll hear that in this chat with Stella, members get the chance to be a part of the conversation and ask their questions directly. It allows you to build a relationship and create new connections in the sports industry. So if you want all of that good stuff, jump on the SportsGrad website and become a member. But for now, grab a pen and enjoy this chat with Stella Barry. Have you got your eye on a future in sport? If you're ready to transform the industry, then perhaps get ready to study with Deakin and prepare yourself to redefine what it means to work in sport. That's what I did, at least. Deakin's School of Exercise and Nutrition Sciences is ranked #1 in the world. Pretty cool, hey? So if you want to turn your passion for sport into an impactful career, get ready to push the limits of exercise science, sport coaching, sport development, sport management, nutrition sciences, physical education, and more. You can do it all at Deakin. Apply now and study at Deakin University. Stella, welcome to SportsGrad.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I think the last time that we were chatting, we were in a cafe right outside the Olympic Committee offices, and you were in a bit of a whirlwind in the middle weeks of the Olympics. How are you doing now that you're back on solid ground in Australia?
Much better. I am well rested. I am fully rejuvenated. Yeah, just taking it all in. I think now all the memories are coming back when you are talking to family and friends. So yeah, just taking it all in and resetting, which is really nice.
Amazing. Good to hear. One thing we do on this podcast, Stella, is to learn a bit about you very quickly. I'm going to fire off some quick fire questions for you. It doesn't mean your answers have to be quick, but just give people a sense of who you are and what you've been up to. First question, what was your first ever job?
I think tennis coach, but I worked for my dad, so I don't know if that fully counts. If we count not working for my dad, counts. Oh, okay. So I think the proper one, not working for my dad, like I worked in the ice cream parlor.
Nice. I had a casual ice cream job too, so good to know we've got that in common.
Yeah.
What did you study at university?
Marketing and media communications.
And what's your favourite sporting moment?
Ooh, that is a great question. Oh, that's really gonna make me think. Um, well, I'm a big tennis fan, so probably when Ash Barty won all of her Grand Slams, like those moments for tennis and women in tennis, like for me being a tennis player growing up, I loved her so much, and I saw her when she like started like right from the beginning. So seeing her get to that point and knowing her journey, yeah, those moments were probably the greatest for me.
Love it. And do you have a book or podcast that you like to dive into that's helped you with your job?
Um, Not many that I've looked at specifically. I probably should be listening or reading more in that sense. At the moment, I've got Shoe Dog by Phil Knight that I started reading. I've only just started it though, so but yeah, that's a great one. Talk about Nike and how he built the brand that it is now. So yeah.
Love it. Very topical at the moment now that the CEO has recently changed over. So that'll be very interesting. And if you had 30 minutes to pick anyone's brain, who would it be and why?
Oh my God, these are so hard. I was not expecting these. Oh, that is a great question. In the sports industry? Oh, actually, I know. Abby Holmes. I love her. I think everything that she does for women in the AFL industry and just like her journey and just even like how she presents herself in the media. Yeah, I'd love to see inside her brain. Everything that she obviously there's social media and people post a lot of the good things, but I just feel like this woman really does so much, and I just want to know like just how she manages it all. And yeah, I'd love to sit down and pick her brain for sure.
Yeah, Abby's a superstar. If anyone listening to this has a connection to Abby, let her know. We'd love to get her on the podcast. I reckon she'd be terrific. All right, awesome. Well done, Stella. We're going to dive more into your journey now. Can you going way back? Can you walk us through the series of experiences that you had that led you to your role in Paris?
Yeah. Okay. Well, if we're starting from the very beginning, I've always loved sports. Grew up as a tennis player. My dad being a tennis coach, it was my passion, my dream to really follow that for the rest of my life. Really, I wanted to be a professional tennis player and play on the circuit. And you know, kind of got to a stage though where I probably realized I wasn't really good enough. And even though tennis is a lifelong sport, I realized it probably wouldn't be my career going forward. And my parents always pushed education, always pushed school, university, college. So I really just focused on those things as well. And during my I finished high school the year after, the year before COVID started. And my goal was to go play college tennis, and that couldn't really happen. So I started uni in Australia, and I was just studying there. And once COVID was over, I really wanted to get back to America ASAP. And I was looking at colleges, and I found Nebraska, and it was just like a sporting college. Like it had the biggest football stadium, it had like amazing tennis facilities, and I was like, yeah, we're going there. Like I just wanted to go anywhere that like sports was really. And it was at Nebraska actually that I was lucky enough to do a sports media class. And in this class we got put in groups and we had to run a fantasy football team, which I thought that was so fun. Like you got to do that for the assignment? Wow. And my job in my group was to run the social media. And during COVID, I had really picked up a love for social media. I had started like a cooking page because I was making so many foods and I was just posting all the time. And I just loved taking photos and posting on social media. And I was like, oh, great. Like you can align this with sports and make it a job. Cool. I want to do that. So I really just thought like, okay, how does this happen? Like, who does this? And I was so lucky. My sports professor had already taught so many amazing social media producers and digital media leads, like in American sports, and he would always bring them in for talks to the class, and he taught another Australian at Oklahoma State called Bryce Shelton, and he was like, yeah, I'll get him on the podcast. I'll get him not on the podcast. Sorry, I'll get him to come and talk to the class via Zoom. So he did, and he had previously worked for Collingwood and St Kilda, and I just fired a million questions at him and was like, oh, I said to my professor at the end of it, can I connect with him? Like, I really like talking to him. He seems like a really cool guy. It seems like we're having similar experiences, or I'm going to have an experience probably similar to him when he was at Oklahoma State. And yeah, so we just connected, and he was like, try and get as much experience in the States as possible with working in sports, try and get, in the college athletics department and get a job. And even if you just do it for free, just like get as much experience as possible. And I was like, okay, yeah. So I literally told my professor, like, how do I get a job with the college athletics department? And over in America, like, they already had all the internships, like, given away. And I was only there for a year. And he was like, well, I'll just get you in touch with the head director of athletics. And I was like, oh, great. So I messaged him and I told him my story, and we got to sit down for a lunch, and he was like, okay, I'll try and find something for you. We'll find something for you. And they just kind of made like this random spot for me, which was like communications / social media for the tennis team, because the men's and women's tennis team didn't have anyone doing their social media. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Like, I went to every game and just like took videos for stories and just posted for them, really. And it was great because I already knew all the tennis lingo. So for me, it was like super easy, and just have fun with it. And then from there, I just kept thinking, okay, like, what can I do next? Like, summer internships were rolling around, and I was really lucky to land a spot at IMG Academy in Florida, which for me was like the dream job. Like, I had dreamed of going to IMG since I was a kid. Like, for those who don't know, IMG started as the Nick Bollettieri Tennis Academy, and Nick Bollettieri coached like Serena Williams, Andre Agassi, like Maria Sharapova, like all the really big stars. Like, he was just a big name in tennis. And so for me to go there, but to work there was like next level, because now it's it is actually the biggest, one of the best schools in the world for sports. Like, they have so many college athletes, Olympians come out of there, professional players, stars. And and I learned everything there. Like, I pretty much had that experience with just posting on like TikTok and Instagram and having fun with silly questions. But I learned how to do photo there, learned how to do videography there. And I just had so many amazing people that like mentored me and really took me under their wing. And then I came back to Australia after that. And I was like, okay, what's next? The Australian summer was rolling around. I was like, great, the tennis. So for me, it was just always trying to like think about the next thing, like one step at a time. And I managed to find Justin, who is the head of social content for the AO. Found him on Instagram, and I sent him a DM and just told him my story. And he said, yeah, let's catch up for coffee. And then they were hiring for positions at the time, and slowly I went through a couple of interviews and then landed the job there. So I worked there first time last summer, and it was then actually that a friend had mentioned to me that he might be working in the Olympics in an event role, and I just thought about it and I was like, oh, that sounds fun. Like, I didn't really think anything of it, to be honest. And I had randomly I was like, where do I even start with trying to apply for a job for the Olympics? Like, I don't know anybody. I had done a massive LinkedIn stalk of so many people for Channel 9, for Paris, and I was just trying to look, and I emailed a lot of people with Channel 9 actually. At the Australian Olympic Committee, Olympic team. I didn't hear back from like anybody that I had messaged. And then I just kept looking at the website and I applied for a few roles, but I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I'll get this. And I got rejected from, yeah, 3 or 4 roles, and they were all like marketing. There was even an internship that I was like, oh, I'll do this. Like, even if it's like unpaid, like that'll be fun. Yeah, I got rejected from 4 of them. And then on a whim, one day I was just procrastinating something. And I looked up the website again, and the English content creator role came up, and I was like, oh yeah, bang on. Like this is exactly like the stuff I did at AO. I feel confident, like this could be a possible one. Like the doubt was that I didn't really speak, or I don't speak any French. Picked up a few words since being there, but don't speak fluently, that's for sure. And yeah, applied, and a couple months later heard back. And at that time I was working at the Western Bulldogs. I got the VFL digital media role there, which I was also loving. A great team at the Western Bulldogs, they really are. And yeah, I was just really not expecting it. On a random Wednesday, I'm pretty sure I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw the email come through wanting to do interviews, and I was like, wait, this is a scam. This isn't true. Yeah, and then just it really came on quite quickly, and they were like, yeah, if you can find a place to stay in Paris, we've got the job. And I was like, oh, okay. And yeah, the rest is history.
Amazing. I love that. Your story reminds me a lot of 2 other girls who have had on the podcast, both working in social media. First one is Emily Collin, who is the social media producer for the Australian women's cricket team. And the second one is Sophie Rees for the Australian Grand Prix in Formula One. The thing that the 3 of you have in common is that all 3 of you got your first social media bits of experience capturing food. So for Emily, she was working at Emily was working at a local pizza shop. Sophie had like her own cake business, and then you had like your own cooking thing through COVID as well. But all 3 of you have been able to leverage that into the next thing, to now working like the top tier of sport. So I just love how there's like this theme of like pathway into social media creator coming through food at the moment through the 3 of you as an example. But I also love like what you said about the opportunity you got over in the States as well, where like it seems like you created a role for yourself to go out and, create content around the tennis team. Did anyone give you any direction at all, or you were just like, give me the reins and I'll go from here?
Honestly, I had a great supervisor, Megan, who had like basically just said, have fun. She basically said, just go for it. She trusted me completely with my knowledge of tennis and where I would stand on the court and what I could shoot. So she was just like, go crazy, have fun. And that's what I did. And yeah, she just said, make the most of it. And yeah, I'm very grateful actually that I had her, because she really just put her full trust in me. And I don't know if that was maybe my confidence or or it's like a facade a little bit. It's not always there, but but fake it till you make it sometimes.
Well, what did an experience like that do for your confidence, where you kind of left your own devices to create something without too much support?
Well, I felt pretty okay with it because it was tennis related, and tennis had been my life for so long. And I loved the ability to be creative. Like for me, as a kid, I had never really been creative. I did a little bit of dance, but my mum always said like, oh, my sister's the more creative one out of the 2 of us, because she can draw and paint and likes to make things. And I just have never had that gift. And I feel like I've been able to find it through social media and through like, capturing stuff and video and photo. And so being creative and just having that freedom was so freeing. Like I felt like I just was always on social media, looking at other sports accounts. And I always loved the little interview things or the little behind the scenes things, like especially like growing up as a sports fan with the tennis, I always just wanted to know what was going on behind the scenes, like what whether it was what athletes were doing to like get better, like how they were training, or, you know, what they would eat for lunch and dinner, like, you know, just those little niche things that you don't see, you know, front up. So yeah, so I really just became super creative with it and tried everything and anything. So
Amazing. And at the time, like, were you tossing up which direction to take your career, or were you always set on social media? Because it sounded like you didn't come out of like a social media specific degree, more general, broader media marketing. So were there like a couple of options that you were trying to think about, which way do I go? And I guess, how did you end up making that decision?
well, it's so crazy to me because about halfway through year 12, I was pretty set on being a dietitian. So this wouldn't even be in my, you know, career path line. Anyways, if it wasn't for my mom, because my mom always said to me, you love talking, you're good with people, maybe you should do something in like advertising or marketing or media. And I was like, oh, okay, like kind of just trusted her gut on that. And I had no idea because I really had no idea. I didn't even know what kind of pathways you could go in media. I guess the only way I really thought of was journalism. And I actually started I started my major on the media side in journalism. And that's why I liked Monash, because I couldn't decide between the business or the media side. And I was like, okay, let's just be safe, because if worst comes to worst, nothing works out, at least you have a marketing degree. Like, you know, that's business, like they make money, like, you know. So I thought about that. And then the media side, I thought like, oh, that'll be fun, like to try something, you know. I've always loved like the idea of like TV and film. So yeah, so I always thought, okay, let's try a bit of that. And I definitely, once uni started, had leaned towards the media side. And like I said, finding that creativity and ways to express yourself through photo and video. Like, yeah, I just found that part of my degree so much more enjoyable. However, I will be finishing next semester with 2. So I'm glad I stuck with both of them. So that's good.
Nice. It's funny how mums can always tell where you're meant to end up and have a better understanding of some of your strengths sometimes than you can.
Yeah.
I was similar to you. Like during high school, I always loved like the media side of things and did media studies until I think year 9 or 10. But then with the way that the the high school grading system works in Victoria, media studies got marked down significantly in the final year. And so I thought, oh no, I won't do media studies because I don't want to get a poor mark. I'll do something else that maybe is a bit smarter. But I probably should have actually done the thing that I was actually interested in, because now I've found a way to end up doing content creation again, and skip the years when I could have got actually graded for it. So sometimes it pays to listen to your strengths and the people around you who are telling you, actually forget about what the grades are. If you enjoy this, you're going to do the best job of it.
Absolutely. Because they always say if you're passionate about what you're doing, it's like you're never working a day in your life. So
Exactly right. I'm interested to hear about the message that you sent Justin, I believe Justin Visser. So one, like, he's been your connection to get your job at Tennis Australia. Firstly, like, how did you find him and what did your message say?
well, he was really easy to find actually, because I literally just looked up social media producer at Tennis Australia, and he came up straight away because he has like 15.8K followers or something like that, like something like super high. And I was like, oh, great. And he's like a Wilson ambassador. So it came up pretty quickly. And then he had actually like heard of my name before, because he had followed me a little bit as a junior, like through tournaments and stuff, and seen my name there. So I think we had like one interaction before, maybe when I was really young. So this was like before anything media related ever happened. Because he said when my name came through, like he recognized it, which I thought was really funny. I was like, oh, famous. No. But what did I say? I just had told him about my experiences at IMG and Nebraska. And that was one thing I remember Bryce really saying to me. he just said, obviously that's going to be a major point of differentiation for you having those experiences at college and in the college athletics world, because it's such an influential space, like even in our professional sports, or even in professional sports in the States as well and in Europe, like they all look at a lot of the stuff that college athletics are doing. And so having that experience, he was really interested, and especially I think also it being IMG, like, because that has such a strong tie to tennis and even just my background as a tennis player. So I'm pretty sure I had just given him my whole rundown and asked him for a coffee. And that was the thing Bryce really emphasized to me as well. He was like, because when I messaged him, it's funny, I've never met him in person, but I owe him so much. And because he's purely helped me with so many connections here in Melbourne. Because I remember I was coming back from the States and I messaged him and I'd be like, oh, I'd love to catch up for coffee, like, because you've helped me so much already in the States, like just pick your brain as well. And he's like, oh, I'm actually moving to London. And I was like, oh. But here are a list of people you can contact. And I was like, oh my God. So I did. I just went on LinkedIn and messaged a bunch and I also sent Justin that message and wanted to catch up for coffee and we had a chat and yeah.
And so in that message, it sounds like you just got everything out in the one message. Is that right? Like just laid out, this is what I've done and made a request. Can we meet for coffee? Is that right?
Pretty much.
Nice. I love that because one of my gripes at the moment is, and I feel like I'm going to do a post on LinkedIn about this, is just like a list of messages I received in my LinkedIn inbox that I will never respond to. And they're all like, hey, Ruben, that's it. Or, hey, how are you? That's it. And I'm like, I don't have time to have a conversation. Please, if you want to chat, like get your point across straight away. And that's exactly what you've done. And it's worked for you and it's led to a job. So I think that's a great example for people who are wondering, why am I getting rejected from these cold messages I'm sending? Perhaps I need to get to the point quicker like you have done.
Yeah, like I would say summarize your resume, but with the important parts. So if you're talking to someone in sports, like obviously talk about the parts that are more relevant to sports, not like your job at the ice cream parlor. But yeah, so that's what I did. I basically gave him a little rundown of everything I had done in that period of time, and yeah, like a short resume form, and I think a link also to my portfolio in that resume as well. Sorry, in that text as well. But yeah.
Amazing. Let's chat about the Olympics. When people ask you, how was it? What are the first bits of information or experiences from the time that you had there that you share with them?
I say it's been the hardest, but also most rewarding thing I've ever done. The hardest because it was just a monster of an event. Like, I always, I guess, compared it to working AO because that was the only big event experience that I had ever had. And so in my head, I was going into it like, oh yeah, it's just like the AO. Like it's just busy. It's going to be busy. But no, it's like AO on steroids. There's just so many people, but honestly, and the hours were long, and you're obviously working with so many different people. My team were amazing. Like they, even me coming into it, not really speaking any French. I had another boy on the team from America, Kyle. He was like me as well, so it was good because we could rely on each other a little bit when we just need, when it was getting tough, we could just kind of talk to each other. But yeah, everything was in French. So that definitely, makes you have to listen more and try and figure out ways to understand it, especially when, you're just getting so much information coming at you and you have to break it down, but then also understand it because it's in a different language. So, definitely all of that was tricky, but I feel like it's definitely made me so much more resilient and a harder worker today. honestly, I've never worked so hard in my entire life, but I've never also felt so rewarded. Like afterwards, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do that again. Even in there's always some moments when you're like, oh Jesus, this is hard, but afterwards you're like, yeah, it was worth it. It was so worth it. So, yeah, like definitely to sum it up, it was the hardest but also most rewarding thing ever. So many amazing moments that only now I'm starting to reflect on and really soak it in and be like, wow, that happened. Because sometimes you get swept up and you're just like, this is work, you just gotta head down and grind it out. But now it's kind of like, wow, letting it all soak in.
What were one or two of those pinch me moments?
Yeah, definitely, I told you about this, but definitely Champions Park. Like the first time I was there, like, oh my God, I might get emotional. It's just like it's never happened before in an Olympics, and yeah, I mean, I saw Champions Park come to life from like when it was getting built and like the whole process behind it and all the planning, and then when it was finally there and like all the athletes are walking on stage, and I was at this point where after they come around from all the journalists, they got to like fist bump me, and some of them just like stopped and were like just so shocked and were so happy and were just like nearly crying, talking to me, saying like, this is my dream, like, they just want a gold medal, like, and I was like, oh my God, like like almost crying for them because you could just feel the emotion. And like yeah, even thinking about it now, like all the people just celebrating, being so happy, like that part for me, I was like, ah. It was like a big oh my God moment. Yeah, think about it now, I might cry. No, I won't. But yeah, definitely that part was such a pinch me moment because you also know like how much hard work they have put into being there, like as a former wannabe athlete. And yeah, it just doesn't come easy. And for that to happen every 4 years and they get to experience something like that, like, oh yeah, fully life changing.
That was beautiful. I've been trying to tell people a similar thing, but it's very hard to explain the feeling of the Olympics until you get there and you see it and you feel everyone else's energy around you as well. But that's amazing that you got to call that just another day in the office. You mentioned that you were there for like the lead-in period and saw Champions Park coming together. Aside from that, can you describe what your role was like in the weeks and months leading into the 16 days of competition?
Yeah, so I was heavily on the TikTok team. So I really got to be super fun and super creative with our TikToks because we had a lot of restriction. Like we couldn't really post any videos during the Olympics, obviously, of anything because of broadcast rights. We couldn't really film at sites as well, so we had to do a lot with photo. So I was helping brainstorm all those ideas, and we had a lot of planning spreadsheets with like different audios and trends and just ideas for different sports as well, opening ceremony, closing ceremony, medals. And so that when we went into it, we were like so prepared. We also tested a lot of things though, like leading up to it, like the same kind of trend, but with something maybe leading up so that when we got into the Olympics, we could try it with, a relevant moment. So we did a lot of that. I was also really excited because I got to be like a TikTok host, an English TikTok host, English speaking, roaming host. So I got to like interact with a lot of tourists and people around Paris, and just ask like fun questions. And I love doing that stuff. So being able to do that on camera was a new experience for me. I had never done that before, and I actually found a major, like a big enjoyment for it. Sorry, that wasn't English. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that. And and I'm lucky I'm actually doing that now at Tennis Australia. But so doing that. And then I was also the contact for the partnership with influencers between Paris and NBC. So that was pretty cool because I got to interact with a lot of people from NBC and their influencers, and their like collaboration with their content with the Frige. So I also got to be the Frige a little bit for actually it was like a rite of passage. If you're on the TikTok team, you have to dress up as the Frige for a few TikToks. So if you go back,
For those who don't know, can you explain what the Frige is?
oh yeah, so the Frige is the mascot, is the Olympic mascot. So we did a lot of TikTok.
The weird red thing, all right?
Yes. I don't oh, I do have a little fluffy one, but it's in the other room. But yeah, it was, so that was a lot of fun. Yeah, so that was probably my three main roles day to day, and yeah, had a blast.
Amazing. Well, we've got some people in the chat saying the Paris 2024 TikTok account was awesome. So you've got some fans here.
Oh, thank you.
We're now going to open up. Hey guys, I hope you're liking the sound of Stella's job. If you are and you want to learn about more people in the sports industry and learn about all the different jobs that are out there, then I'd highly encourage you to become a Sports Grad member. When you become a Learn member, you get access to the Sports Grad library, which is kind of like Netflix for jobs in sport. Here you can watch full interviews and join in the conversation and grow your network, ask your questions directly to professionals in sport. It's just an easy way to kind of shortcut the time to find your career direction and shortcut the time it takes to create connections in sport. So if that's for you, jump on the SportsGrad website and become a SportsGrad member. I'm going to open it up now to questions from the members online. So I might throw to Minaz. Do you want to go ahead and ask your question? Or Minaz, if you prefer, I can read it out for you. We might do that. So Stella, Minaz says, did you take any courses to find out what are the most effective social media strategies?
No, I haven't really done any of that stuff. For me, it's always just been really about having fun. I feel like social media is a lighthearted place. The more you can like connect with people just on like a interactive level, the better the content is. So for me, I've always, like I said, as a fan personally, I've always loved that behind the scenes stuff, that fun stuff. And I always love it when like big brands just have like a really humorous tone, because that's what keeps people engaged, you know, being on with the trends. And that's really all we tried with Paris. Like we tried every trend that there is on TikTok. We did everything and just made it relevant to us. And I find not a lot of, you know, brands or organizations do that or get to do that. Maybe more so now they're starting to be a bit more flexible, push the boundaries a little bit. But that's what you need to do. It keeps people engaged, especially if you have a younger target audience, which we did have on TikTok. Yeah, that's the main thing too. You just also need to know your audience and research the kind of stuff that your audience will like, what they do day to day, and just capitalize on those things. That's what I try and do. And I always look at accounts that I like to follow and think, oh, okay, why do I like to follow them? Because they do X, Y, and Z. Okay, let's see if we can try and do those things where we are. So yeah.
Awesome. Great question, Manaz. Natalie, are you there? Do you want to read your question?
Yeah. Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, Stella. Lovely hearing your story. I'm interested to learn about the actual job interview experience for the Paris Olympics, what it was like. And in particular, did they put like a lot of weight on needing to speak French? And if so, in their daily, you know, going about of doing the job, did that language barrier become a challenge in getting your work done? Thank you.
Yeah, great question. It was a very quick interview process. Actually, I thought I was already eliminated from the first interview because it was just a call with HR and they were like, okay, we're going to do it in French. And I was like, wait, no, I don't speak French. And so I already thought that was a big no. But I think my boss said to me that he was always really interested in my experiences. And I think at that point too, they had already hired Kyle, and Kyle, he was more a photographer, cinematographer, videographer, and they kind of needed someone to complement him. So, and that's where my job kind of helps with that. But, and then most people on the team spoke varying levels of English, some amazing, some not as much. So we always had Google Translate going to try and get our messages across. It definitely became a bit tricky during like the really hard crunch times when, communication just had to come out quickly and, it would all come out in French, and sometimes you would be distracted with things you're doing, or maybe you're tired that day and you're just not paying attention as much as possible. But I think definitely since working overseas in a country that the main language isn't English, I've seen the importance of knowing a second language because it can really help you in those situations. But at the same time, they did so much that they did everything that they could to really like help me and make sure I understood, and always was like open to me asking questions. I asked so many questions. I probably sound a bit silly sometimes, or like reiterating the same thing, but they prefer that rather than you walk off and not understand what's going on. So you just have to be very patient and very mindful that everyone's stressed, everyone's tired, everyone's doing the same job. Some people don't understand you, sometimes you don't understand them, but as long as you're like, I think really understanding and just like patient is a big word, then you can work collaboratively and you can get what you need to get done. But it's that patience and just understanding. And if you don't have that, then it makes it hard. But yeah, if you do have that, you'll be fine.
Oh, thank you. That's great. It's good to know that they supported you as well. Like you wouldn't want content going out that potentially had errors in like their language or something like that. So did someone check any of your work when you sent it out, or?
Well, I never did anything in French. I never wrote anything in French.
Just the English, yeah.
Just the English, but which was very helpful for them because I got to check all their English stuff. And a lot of times people would just like blurt at me and be like, does this sentence make sense? But yeah, so it was always good. And if I had to, I think at one time I had to write something in French, but yeah, they would always be over it, making sure it was correct. So
great. Thank you so much. Good luck with everything else that you're working on. Thanks for sharing your story. Bye.
No, thank you.
Great question, Nat. We're going to throw to Joanne. Do you want to ask away?
G'day, Stella. My name's Jo. I'm so in awe of your journey. Like it's relatable to me because I actually was a professional tennis player as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's such a long story, but I had a question for you. So just as someone who's played professional tennis like yourself competitively, I'm just curious, how do you think your background in tennis shapes the way you tell stories? So because I've got a media content background as well, and I create content for a living, and I kind of sometimes think about when I'm shooting for a sport brand or whatever it is, there's some sort of feeling that you get when you're creating the content because you have an understanding of what it's like to be on the other side.
Yes.
I just wanted to know what your thoughts are on that.
That is a fabulous question. Wow. I guess I've never thought too much deeply about it. I guess you understand like, the motion, the way a ball moves, the tracking, that all comes obviously more naturally to us because we've done that and can kind of, I guess the movements a little bit. Also, I think it really helps with technique, even related to any other sports, even in the Olympics, because I remember when I was at ING one time, we were working with another photographer and they didn't have a sporting background and they had taken it was tennis photos, and it was a shank. Like you could see it in the shot. And so having that posted compared to, an actual proper shot, like that's major. You can't make those little mistakes. So that is so crucial. That attention to detail, I think, is really, really important. And I think as athletes, like you're always wanting to improve yourself, wanting to better yourself, like focusing on those little things that maybe just regular people don't pick up on. So that helps so much, I think.
Yeah, on a similar boat in a way.
Yeah. Okay. And it just really gives you that leg up because you understand that. You understand like the way you can portray that as well in photo and video. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'd love to have a hit with you sometime.
Yeah, I have to get back into it. I have not played now in a year, but since being at the tennis, everyone's like, "Oh, you want to have a here?" And I'm like, "Oh, yes, definitely. Hit me up."
Yeah, I'll find you on social.
Yes, absolutely. Thank
Awesome.
you.
No, thanks. Thank you.
Nice one, Joe. Alice, ask away.
Hello. Thank you, first of all, for coming on here and sharing all of your skills and expertise in your history. I suppose my question is just like, what's your best tip as someone preparing for an interview? I know you've landed obviously a pretty big thing. So how did you sort of prepare for it?
This is always the funniest question because I feel like I am the worst at preparing for interviews. I never know how to do it. And even when I was at Nebraska, I was in a business fraternity, and literally all they did was talk about job interviews and how to prepare. And I never know. Some people are so good at it. I think it's good to do just like a little bit of research on like LinkedIn, understand like the core values, obviously, of the organization. I always do a big social media stalk on Instagram, TikTok, all that kind of stuff to see what their tone of voice is. And then just really let your personality shine, because a lot of people really want to know that they're hiring someone that they can work with, that they can get along with, that, will be open-minded. And those are the main things that I just try and put out in interviews. And if you can find like the person that's interviewing you on LinkedIn and, just kind of stalk them a little bit. I just do a major stalk. That's probably the main thing. But really let your personality shine, because like I said before, they want to know you can be a team player as well, like somebody that they can rely on, that won't really lash out at anyone or get upset or a little agitated of a little thing. So that would probably be my biggest tip. I hope they help.
I'll get my stalking skills out. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's okay.
Alice, if you go back to some of the early episodes of the podcast, I think episode 106 or 108 is titled How to Sell Yourself in an Interview. So there's a few good short podcast episodes around that, Mark, that should put you on your way.
Thanks,
Lyndall,
Ruben.
over to you. No stress at all.
Hey, thanks so much for sharing your story. Super interesting to hear, what it was like being sort of the other side of the game. So as Ruben was saying before, I work at the AOC, and so I was looking after the community engagement and home front activities back in Australia. So super curious as to how the individual photos or content got picked to be featured on like the official accounts, because I was aggressively stalking everything that was, tagged Oz Olympic team, everything that was tagged LA Oz, etc. And then there was some stuff that appeared on the official account. And I was like, I haven't seen that photo. How have I not seen that photo? And then there were others that I was surprised sort of weren't picked up. So I was just really curious as to what the process was for the sheer influx of content you would have had from around the globe, and who picked what. Super curious.
Yes. Wow. Funny you say that, because we did have a team of extremely talented like photographers that were just ours. Like, you know what I mean? Like they were just on our team. So insanely talented. Like, I mean, you see their photos and you're like, this is hanging in the Louvre. Like, honestly, like this is insane. And that's what we kind of did, because we didn't have that those broadcast rights, and we couldn't like post anything video wise from being on ground. So our goal photo wise was to use as many photos from them, because they took it from the perspective of patrons, just like, walking around the stadiums, being in different parts of the stadium, being up close, being far away. So getting like those niche points that like Getty Images doesn't get. So we used a lot of their amazing photos, and they were so creative. So that's probably how you couldn't get those ones.
Yeah. And then for, I guess, resharing, say, fan photos and that sort of thing, there would have been so many people tagging at Olympics or at Paris 2024. How did you sort of sift through and pick what you would reshare or feature?
Yeah. We didn't re-share obviously on TikTok we did. Oh, actually no, sorry. We had another girl who was in charge of community management altogether. So she took over with all the commenting, interactions. Like my job majority of the time is just to post, just to get make the content and post, and then we would send it over to her, and she would do all the like comments, interact with athletes. We also she did the Instagram channel, you know, where you can interact with like all the fans and stuff like that. And she did a brilliant job at that. And so I guess that would be more of a question for her. I think we mainly shared stuff that more high profile, like athletes or is for sharing, and if it was just relevant to our storyline, because we had so many, and we would obviously interact with like the main ones, but some fan ones probably would have just been blown over us a little bit. But yeah, definitely like interacting is obviously key, and having that tone of voice as well. And actually it was pretty cool. Elsa, who was in charge of it, she had kind of made the Frige like viral. There was like this whole thing in like the French newspaper with this comment she made on TikTok, and how it's like blown up the Frige into this big personality. And it was like, yeah, it was great. So it was good to have her. And she's a comedian too, so she's naturally funny, which is nice.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
No, thank you.
Wonderful. Fu, you are next.
So Stella, nice to meet you. Your story to the Olympic was very inspiring in terms of how you find ways to get to the job you want, and just hearing how you enjoy your time at Olympics really makes me really happy, and I want to hear more from you in the future. But the one question I want to ask you, when you do like brainstorming all the ideas and you know, as a team, you guys decide what sort of content to make, how much of this sort of freedom do you get? Is like, for example, if you want to like do like an interview with maybe a couple of athletes, or do some content with them, do you have to go through some in between person, or do you have to like talk to your higher up before you can say that we can do this content, or there's some restriction to what sort of content you can make?
Yeah, well, during the Olympics we had a lot of restriction with we never went to the Olympic Village to do we didn't have access to athletes to interview, because that was all OBS broadcasting stuff. But in the Paralympics, I know there was a lot more freedom with access to athletes. So yes, we would always have to go through like either, you know, the country. So we wanted to talk to an Australian athlete, we would talk to the Australian Olympic Committee, and then they would work out how to get a hold of that athlete. But yeah, there's always a process like that to talk to like more of those like important people, more of the important people or the more, you know, high up profiles. But yeah, and if you have a specific content idea though, they're always open to pitching something. Like we were going to do something with Dasha, with the Australian Olympic team and the Frige, and there was also that moment too with the viral Muffin Man from Team Norway. Yeah. So about a few of those ideas fell through because it just didn't work out scheduling wise. But yeah, they're always open to those things and to pitching those ideas. So yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome.
That's okay.
We are just about at time, but Stella, if you don't mind, we might try and get through the last couple of questions for the people who've got their hand up or in the chat. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, of course. I don't have anywhere to be after this.
Okay, great. Isha, go for it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everything that you shared today. And I also I love how you started with I applied and I didn't get it. Like I think that was like really nice to like hear that like kind of vulnerableness. My question was going to be kind of, so when you got the Paris role, I assume it was a contract role, like it was a short-term thing. And I guess like just how did you kind of plan financially or kind of like set yourself up to be able to then get the next job, or was it just something that you hoped would come of after Paris? Like
yeah, so I was lucky definitely for Paris. I had saved quite a bit, or else it would have been a bit difficult, and I'm lucky my parents can, you know, help where need. So but Yeah, so and I was very lucky too because I wouldn't have had anything lined up after Paris if my boss didn't reach out to me. My boss from the AO last time, she was like, "Oh, do you want to start early? Like when you get back?" So it was great. Like I had that lined up, but I don't have anything else after the AO, so I need to think about what to do next. But yeah, I was lucky that I had saved up a lot of money because yeah, they didn't cover my flights or accommodation. So because I think in the beginning too, I don't know if they were really planning on hiring anyone internationally for my role, but so that's probably why it hadn't been factored in budget or anything. So yeah, I did invest a little bit into myself, but it was so worth it for the experience. And yeah, and so I was very lucky that after that it led, and also I had been documenting a lot of my experiences on my social media. Obviously, the stuff that you could share. There's still so much that I have to share. So, and I love doing that. Like, I love also sharing the behind the scenes of my job because I think it's a fun little niche thing to share with people. But yeah, just you know, not to stress out about those contracts too much, like what's next. Like you are always thinking that, but you know they will come, and you just take it a step at a time, really. So, and what works for you in the situation. Like next after AO, like I technically have to go back to uni for like a semester. So what will come of that will be different. But as long as you're like keeping in contact, making those connections, opportunities will start to pop up. People will start to send stuff your way. Think, oh, hey, I think you're good for this. You should apply for this. Like, you know, make more friends, like, or connections like that. And yeah, it pays off. It definitely pays off.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's okay.
Great question. Tanya, over to you.
Hello. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story and your journey. Like, it was truly so inspiring. Like, I'm a tennis fan too, and so it was just really incredible to hear your insights. And so I was just wondering, do you have any specific career goal that you still want to achieve in your professional career?
That's a great question. Yeah, because honestly, like I love social media, but I've always wanted to like find ways, you know, to like kind of be in more influential roles or like maybe head a team. But definitely things kind of like you know, got me thinking after Paris, especially like having friends that work with like OBS and the broadcasting and like seeing more roles now pop up in like digital media reporter space, like that kind of stuff, like the journalism and the TV sports presenting roles. Because I love to talk about sports and I obviously love to talk. Sorry, I'm probably blabbing too much, but and yeah, and after doing all the interviews, I've always loved to kind of share those stories. And so I would love to probably tap in or eventually start to transition into like the broadcast space. I know it's a very competitive like area, but I'm hoping like with my experience and maybe more training and like, you know, meeting people that I can venture off into that space a little bit. Because yeah, like things are always popping up, especially the digital media reporter role. That's kind of like a new thing I've noticed a lot, especially with like sports teams in America. And I would always love to do something that would allow me to continue to travel, because I just love the idea of travel, like working in America, working in Paris, working back in Melbourne. Like I love that idea of being able to just pick up and go. So yeah, I'm still kind of figuring that out, but like I have a bit of a vision. So hopefully we'll see where it goes.
That's
awesome
cool.
to hear. Arya Mansingh, do you want to fire away and then we'll finish with the Ash? Oh, if he's not here, I might ask it.
Okay.
All right, Stella, how much emphasis is given on the technical aspects of sports in comparison to social media trends while creating content for such a mega scale event? What's the right balance?
Does he mean technical in execution or
perhaps like when covering the sport, how much is focused on the you know, the ins and outs of canoe slalom versus getting Jess Fox to do a dance?
Okay. I would say that depends on your target audience. That definitely depends on which area you're targeting. Like, for example, if we're targeting, more millennials or, further up to like my mom's generation and stuff like that, they probably want to see more like cool highlights. Like, oh, my dad, like, he always is sending me like, good tennis shots and like epic rallies and like all that kind of stuff. So he'll send me that over like a TikTok dance. I don't really get any of those from him. So focus on that first and then kind of digest where you want to go, whether it's more technical route or trending route. But definitely for when I'm at Australian Open, like we focus on both because we have such a large audience. Like, people from all ages come to the tennis. So you really have to get a bit of everything. Whereas for Paris, we really kind of narrowed it down by platform, and we were like, okay, Snapchat, TikTok, they're young, have fun, like don't like share some stories, share some of those things, but also just go crazy with the trends. And in a way too, you can try and blend the trends with that technical stuff too, like put that sound of that will like kind of match it, you know what I mean? And I think that's when you get good content because you're making it relevant. So yeah, I would say that. it's finding that balance, but yeah.
Yash, lucky last, go for it, mate.
Thank you, Ruben. Thank you so very much, Stella, for sharing the inspiring journey. I was able to resonate with that a lot when you shared about your experience of AO and to see, oh, I want to work there sometime. So thank you so much for sharing that. I would want to keep it really quick. I heard you speaking about Western Bulldogs' role in digital media. What would be the regular day-to-day duties of yours that you would do, and what skills you think one would need to get into that role? That was the Western Bulldog side of role, but since you work along with a lot of videographers and photographers very closely, how do you think they get there with the do? So how do they get to that position? Do you have any experience on that or any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so my position at the Western Bulldogs was I was more of a casual role for the VFL team, and actually that was so much fun because I got to write match reports, and I've never written a match report in my life for AFL. So I learned so much on the fly, but that's the thing. You always gotta just try and find like your little niche and like work on that, but also like try as much as you can to learn about different things, whether it's like photo or video or like getting better at editing. Like if you're on Clip Pro or Premiere Pro or Photoshop, like honing on those little skills, because overall they will benefit you in the long run. People really like it if you are if you're multi-talented. Like for example, even Kyle, he's a brilliant cinematographer and videographer, but they said to him, oh, but can you post on social media? Because you can make these creative photos, but can you post? He can because he's a genius, but being able to do both. So I would say like, even with taking photos, just like trying, even if you don't have access to like a professional camera right now, like learn about like aperture and just the settings, like so that you can and you can play around with that stuff on your phone now, just on your general phone too. So knowing those like little things and trying to improve those skill sets will then definitely help you when wanting to apply for like those bigger roles. But I would say also just be happy to start with smaller roles, like getting experience, like doing anything volunteer based, like if that's how you have to start, because it's definitely how I started too. Like I, did so much stuff for free, and it was always like, it's for the experience, like as much as that can be hard sometimes, but you love it and you're learning from it, then it's great. Like it's going to help you so much in the long run. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Stella.
That's okay. Thanks for your question.
Amazing. Well, guys, that's all we've got time for tonight. Stella, thank you so much for jumping on and giving us extra time with you to pick your brain. I think your story is incredible. Not many people know what still 22 years old, is that right?
22, yeah.
22, which is amazing, which is super inspiring for a lot of people. So thank you for sharing that with us, and thanks for sharing such great insight on the ins and outs of social media as well. So we really appreciate you being part of Sports Grad tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad everyone wanted to listen to my story, because sometimes I'm blabbing on too much, but thank you. I appreciate it. It's great to meet all of you. And yeah, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. Happy to answer any more questions there. And yeah, thanks,
Wonderful.
Ruben.
And for those who want to hear some of the stories of the people we mentioned earlier, you can find Sophie Rees, who's the admin of Australian Grand Prix Corporation, in episode 197, and then Emily Collin is 170, looking after the Australian women's cricket team. So a couple more to dive in there. Hey friends, one last thing before you go. If you really want to make an impact in sport, then subscribe to the Sports Grad newsletter. Inside, we share all the latest job openings and networking events, so you're always aware of opportunities to land a job and grow your network. Plus, we share a Q&A with a professional on how they grow their career in sport. Here we talk about things like how they moved overseas or negotiated their salary or landed a new job or promotion, made a career change, and so much more. It's kind of like a little boost of inspiration in your inbox before the weekend. So if you're like us, you're career driven and you're keen to progress quickly, you're going to love the Sports Grad newsletter. To get it, head to sportsgrad.com.au/newsletter to subscribe, or follow the link in the show notes. See you next time.